Hello, the following recording is of the Artist Feedback AMA session held within MetaJungle Discord on September 9th. This particular session was open genre photography and hosted by Mike Schmidt and Arwen Levinson. We want to say a big thank you to all the artists who contributed your work for review, and also, of course, to Mike and Arwen for their valuable time and feedback. We really hope that this session helps with information about curating NFTs, being able to mint on specific platforms, and also creating successful collections. We hope you find this helpful.
Arwen is co-hosting again today, same as last week. And, she's a phenomenal landscape photographer. She's explaining how she does some of her, not multiple exposures, but I guess it's like layered focus on on the landscapes. Is that what it is? Is that what it's called, Arwen? I don't know.
Yeah, we were talking about focus stacking last time.
Ah, yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it sounds really technical to me, and sounds like a lot of patience and because even me with just a tripod, I start to like it's weird. I start to lose my creativity. I feel like I need to be on the move. And some people are so patient with the tripod, and then even going into taking, multiple shots at different aperture, focusing different areas, and then going in afterwards and merging those all together. And I think people would think that um, that's like some type of manipulation of the image, but I think it's actually probably more true to what the eye would normally see in life, because we're getting to see like all the details, right?
Right. I mean, we have way more depth of field with our eye, right, than the camera lens has. So
Mhm.
unless you focus stack it, you can't really reproduce what you see. And even contests like the Natural Photography Awards, which requires very little manipulation to your photos, allows focus stacking. So I think it's pretty much understood that that's um, just a way to be able to get the scene to be the way that we see it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's something I found out about this year. It's really, really cool. But yeah, outside of, Lauren being an amazing landscape photographer, and she's a really, really good community member, obviously 2 weeks in a row here with us, and educator in the space. And so glad to have you again, which is kind of why I hit you up immediately and asked if you wanted to do this. So, yeah, with that, I think I'm going to start sharing my screen. You guys able to see that yet? If you click on my
I just opened it up.
nice. Yeah, it doesn't automatically open. I guess you got to click on it. But cool. So, should be showing the uh, that moment and by Hakan um, Lioglu. And this is it's really cool banner. Um, really good job on the banner here. Love it. Let me grab my cat real quick. She's crying. She wants to sit on my lap. 1 second. Here. All right, I'm back. Cool. So that moment, and this is by Hakan, and just first off, just looking at this is on Foundation. They allow you. Nice thing about Foundation is you can see like it has like a really cool looking layout. It's got that moment posted here in this little image here, and then some slices from each of the images. And I like the slices that the artist chose, like each little one giving us a little snippet of what it's like. It's like a swordfish and a cat here, and guy jumping on the bike. So we'll go down and we'll take a read on the artist statement here. So when you shoot on the streets, you flow with dynamism and diversity. There's so much happening around you, and you do not have control over. in time, you adopt to dynamism and start to see things differently. You develop an eye, like a sixth sense of what's going to happen or what can happen around you. This is a collection presenting some of my photography on the streets where that moment is very, very hard to come by again. That's a pretty good artist statement. I like that, especially like this first paragraph here. I could really, really resonate with that ability to sort of get into a flow state during street photography, and it's very hard to capture a moment if you can't get yourself into that sort of meditative state where you're part of the environment. And I definitely like that, and this anticipation and seeing things unfold before you're about to get the photograph. So really well presented on the description. And so I'll just take a little scroll down and just look at the images as a whole. So the style seems very specific, which is a good thing. I feel like you can really feel Hakan's style when you see these, and sort of know like that's that's a piece that's made by him. I think that's a huge goal for many of us as artists, is to find our voice in this visual literacy. And so let's check out that one. And this one's called Hungry. Really interesting shot of those gotta be swordfish with the long spiky nose there. We just found them to be fascinating, really fascinating looking, and they're in like a really interesting industrial environment here with these crates. It's probably somewhere close to a fishing dock or something at this barbed wire fence here, and just this little cat just hanging out at the scene. I think that's really brilliant. Did you Oren, do you have one in particular? If you looked at these that you want me to open up?
Well, it's already sold, but I really like
It's okay.
it. It's called The Crash.
Ooh, the crash.
Um,
No,
second row right. Oh no, that's not it. Sorry.
that's not it. Oh, it's the intersection.
The intersection.
Yeah.
I like
Yep.
Crash a lot too, but I really like the intersection.
Mm-hmm. Cool. You want to talk about the intersection?
I just think it's so fantastic, the way the line, the pattern and the tiles, and then the long shadow reaching out, and the bird, just all the pieces are perfectly placed in my opinion, and even the sun coming in at the top.
Yeah, I agree. The bird really adds an element. Like it's a good photograph without the bird, but like the bird makes it, I feel like a great photograph. It's like this weight that's sort of needed, a weight distribution like in that area that's coming into the frame, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, and even to, this darker tile at the bottom, which kind of draws your eye to it, but the shadow is pointing right there. So I don't know if that was intentional, but I think that's really well done.
That's really well seen by you. Because, I think when you say you don't know if that's intentional, I think it's probably, I think it probably is intentional and is not intentional. When I say that, what I mean is that I think really good photographers, after shooting for many years, don't even know that they're lining up some composition. They're just natural at doing it, and so they're something clicks, and so that was probably a portion of it that clicked in their subconscious mind that lined up. I know that happens with me a lot, where people tend to think, oh, that it's very genius how you did this, and in a sense, it's kind of like, well, I didn't really mean to do it, and I think to myself like, oh, it was a happy accident, but maybe it's not a happy accident. Maybe it's repetition and our own brain and mind seeing these seeing these things and clicking it when it just all comes into place. And so that's really well seen and well said. I love that
Right,
piece
and I
too.
think it could also be the curation as well. Like, if you take many of the same shot, similar shots, but slightly different, then the one that has these kind of things stands out to you when you go back and look at them again, and that's the one you choose, as your shot. So it could also be that as well.
Absolutely. That's a good point as well. When I go back in my curation and I go back in Lightroom, you know, days after taking photographs, sometimes I find ones that I say, "Oh wow, this one I think is actually better than the one I chose," or I didn't choose this, and now I see something there. So I think there's a creative element to the, photographing of it of the scene, but I think there's somewhat of an equal creative element um, to curating the images as well.
But I think this collection goes really well together. The tones, they all kind of have orange and blue. There's a few that only have the yellowy orange, like the intersection, but it just really kind of ties them all together.
It does. And this shot here has a lot of atmosphere in it too, in clouds on ground. Really cool. I'm guessing this theme. It's interesting because you don't know if this theme comes from the train itself, or this guy would have to be really, really strongly pulling on his vape to create something like that. But I don't think it's that because there's steam all the way up here above the train. But yeah, it's a really moody shot where we lose the entire body and face of the subject, and we just kind of get legs, and it opens up for I guess the imagination. So I appreciated this one too. That one is also sold. Look at some of the ones that aren't sold. Well, we looked at Hungry, which is a really interesting shot. And let's look at it's a full score or not.
Well, Crash is great too. We could take a look at it next, maybe.
Yeah. So this one's very vibrant. So this is one that stands out as a very vibrant shot in the collection, and it doesn't make the collection cohesive, not cohesive by any means, but it's definitely because you could still feel Hakan's style in this shot and his way of composing. And I think the colors in this is fantastic. I always love cold blue tones against warm orange and yellow tones. I'm sure you do too as a landscape photographer. I think that plays a huge role with those tones, right?
Yeah, and that is really, I think, what pulls this collection together so well, because otherwise, I think this one, for example, might not go as well in the collection. But since it has the similar tones, even though they're more vibrant, it kind of still fits.
Exactly. So this always goes back to the same thing I think about you know rules, but not necessarily rules being in black and white, right? Like not everything is black and white as far as rules go. So it's just sort of breaking the rules in the collection as of something being more vibrant and saturated than everything else, but still managing to work, and that's really, really well done. So you said the crash. Let's look at the crash. Yeah, I'll let you talk about that one.
Well, I really like this. I mean, it has more of a landscape photography feel in a way, because you have the beautiful sky and the reflection, and that wave is just really the reflection of the wave. I just really like this one.
Yeah, so sharp on the water too, on the wave part of the water, right? It feels like there's like a depth of field that's shallow kind of up until you get to that fence where the subject is peering out. And I think that the focus still hit the wave and it just makes it really, really beautiful. Definitely dig that one. It's good to see that there's one, two, three pieces that are sold. Um, some really good shots in the collection. I think for me, if I was going to be constructive, I mean, I think they're all really good. I think this would be possibly, I don't know, maybe the weaker image for me. I'm not sure though. Um, I do like what's happening here. I find it interesting that these wild animals are sort of following him through like a city. Um, but there is something in this shot that I don't. There's sort of a wow factor that some of the other shots have that's maybe missing in this one. But maybe I'm just a bit off on this too. I don't know, what was your take on this one?
No, I agree with you on that. Maybe it's just not as well balanced. I really like the idea of it, but I agree with you that it seems to be probably the weakest one in execution.
Yeah, I think it just seems a bit easy for Hakan based on what we've seen him do. I also think that maybe it's just this I don't know. I don't know if it's the blue gate behind too. I mean, it does add a little bit of layer and whatnot, but I feel like the perspective is sort of just head on, and maybe a lower and to the left and down and above with some more drama or something could have worked differently. But yeah, it's my only constructive feedback on this collection. Let's see. Yeah, I think they're priced really well. Um, well, when I say really well, I mean fair, very fair for one of one pieces, 0.8. I thought the description was really nice. Let's see if the photos have individual descriptions. Oh, wow, yeah. Okay, so I'll read one of them. So, Copy Fish Market is one of the unique places in Istanbul. Fishermen bring their fish to the cold warehouses, and they are auctioned by the restaurants and markets. You can go there to have delicious and fresh seasonal fish at the same time in the restaurants that are also in the facility. It is very close to the ferry station of Yenikapi. I was there to meet my father coming to Istanbul with the ferry. Being there really early to meet him, I decided to walk around the fish market and had my camera with me. It was 9 a.m. and the fish market was just opening. While walking around the place in the back yards of the restaurants, I noticed the swordfish hung on the wall to dry. Probably it was some kind of a process to make use of what's left of the big fish. As I was adjusting my camera to take a photo, a kitten just walked in the scene and sat there, uh, infant of the fish. Um, I don't know if that's meant to be infant of the fish or in front of the fish, but maybe the infant holds a different meaning in this. It was like owning the scene, saying, "I ate all the fish and I'm still hungry." That's cute. Wow. Really, really good description that kind of brings us into his day and what his day was like up until getting the shot, and he provides um, information about where it is and what type of camera and stuff, and DPI, and then about a bit about Hakan as a photographer. So, and he's from Istanbul, Turkey. It's interesting. Today I saw a post from Masan Harriman, and he was talking about a lot of artists from Turkey and India and Africa in general, and just not having a highlight and a showcase on them as much. And I think with MetaJungle, we we have a huge community of just that gap that void that he's talking about filling, and so I think that's awesome that we have that. Because there's so much talent that's coming out of these places, and it's cool to showcase them. Do you have anything else on this one, Arwen?
No, nothing else.
Yeah, it's really great. So very well done. I would say it's sort of a model collection on Foundation as far as how good the banner is, the descriptions, the curating, the descriptions, down to everything. So I really like this collection, and I hope to see this will sell out. And so moving on, uh, is we're looking at Super 7, and this is by Aaron Kamar Nalimela. And let's read the artist statement here. The collection Super 7 was created by Aaron Kumar and depicts the wonders of women ranging from their early years to their final years. Despite pain, insults, difficulties, loneliness, and showing love as well as hatred, the women are the strongest and greatest of all. At the same time, she is everything and nothing. Does the world know how valuable she is? Is the world aware of her patience? Earth won't have a morning unless she opens her eyes in the morning. The people will not move if her bangles don't move. Your boundless love for each generation and your endless effort to prove all. Without her, the world would be without a lamp. It is your love and care that makes every man a baby. It is you who makes everyone smile. Wow, this is like really poetic. Um, you don't really read many artist statements that feel this poetic, and I love these types of artist statements. It shows that the artist is really serious about their work and not just making the photographs, but writing about the work and how it makes them feel. So, from the very beginning of their lives, women have faced many struggles. There are some children who are left on the streets knowing that they are girls, and from an early age, some children have to deal with the burden of cooking for the rest of their lives. In order to earn money, some girls are sent far from home. It is not uncommon for girls to get married at an early age. There are some women who take care of farming. There are some women who care of their children at home. There are some girls who live under the custody of their brothers-in-law. While enduring all these hardships, she never forgets to smile, hiding all of her sorrows deep inside. It's not enough to portray what a woman faces in 7 photographs, but I wanted to preserve their faces, showing little emotions. Throughout history, their power has been unmatchable and untouchable. To all the powerful women out there not giving up on their smiles, my whole collection is dedicated to them as Super 7. This collection consists of 7 one-of-one images captured on Sony 7R3 location in India. And there you go, in the collection from India. And so I like the 2 photographs chosen for the banner here. It's like there's always beautiful place to look at collections, and they got the Twitter linked here. Love that. Instagram linked here. I think these little details are very important, guys, to have those things linked so that when collectors are looking through your work, they can do a little of their own research and find out about what you post about and what you have to share and offer. So it's like there's none have sold so far. Um, seven available out of 7 images, and so let's take a look. So I'm not going to read all of the titles for each, the descriptions for each one, but let's read the first one. So this is Super 7 number 1. I would probably make an actual title for this. I mean, you are a great writer and a describer of life, so you could come up with something I think better than number 1. So, and you probably still do that. Like none of them sold. When I went to Pahalgam in Kashmir, I went for a walk in the surrounding areas. I went to the nearest lake. I noticed a small hut. As I approached near, I met a girl named Uzma. She was feeding her sheep. I met her father and asked permission to capture her. I took a couple of captures of her. I was very excited to get into the hut as I want to know about their lifestyle. I went in and I met Nasrat. She was mixing chapati powder. Chapati powder. Uh, as I started framing Nasrat, her mother sent Uzma to stay with her sister. So I had the opportunity to capture both. The state of the girl, the stare. I'm sorry, the stare of the girl at us drives the way towards the hand on the shoulder of Nasrat, which in turn leads our eyes towards the chapati mix, showing that she's working. After capturing it, I asked her mother, "She is so young, and she is mixing chapati very well." Then her mother said she had to learn from a very early age so that she could survive in her aunt's house. A bit of emotion and a bit of cuteness froze in my mind, showing the facts of a girl's life. I offered some money. The little girl I can to the little I can to the girl's father while returning, and he was so happy to accept it. So uh, I really like how not only just taking the photograph, but like learning about these people. And I think this is I think it's a really powerful image. I love the girls. I love this girl's stare that's talked about in the description, and the shapes of their pajama or um, their everyday dress. I'm not sure. And the you see this slight mixing of that the powder here. It's just comes together really beautiful in black and white. How do you feel about the this work, or when you have anything on this one, or the writings, or
I like the collection. Do you mean about this piece specifically?
it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Um,
I like the collection. I like it even more after I read the description. When I first looked at it, it didn't quite catch my eye the same way, but then the description really, explained what he was trying to accomplish.
mhm.
Um, I kind of feel like I totally agree with you that they need titles because each of these is so unique in its own. It, the titles would be really nice to describe them. And also the way I felt about the description, really drawing me in to the collection. I feel like titles would draw me in even more. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, looking at the specific ones, I think that they all go very well together and they're nice photos. I mean, this isn't really my expertise, so I don't, area, so I don't have a lot of feedback. But I do kind of feel like Super 7 number 4 might be the weakest one in it because the woman is standing in shadow and you can't really see her very well. I feel like maybe if it were cropped in more or something, since this is really supposed to be about the women. I love the way in the other photos you can really see their faces and their expressions, and it really makes you identify with the women and the girls, which is what this collection is about.
It makes sense that a lot of them are a lot closer up in their environmental portraits, where they're closer to the camera. I do like this image. I do like this image though. It just you are right about it standing out as not being that like really strong or close up, where most of these feel more like portraiture, and then this one feels more of like a documentary a scene. And but I do still think it's a beautiful shot. Um, yeah, I think the weaker one for me might actually be. Oof, um, maybe between the last two here. I do like the shot. There's something about it in black and white where I think this might be better in color. The shot, or the black and white processing could be a little bit less gray. Like there's a lot of gray and sort of muddiness to this shot, that kind of detracts from it in a way. This shot for me, I think if the artist was just a foot further back, and to give us just some room on the bottom, and not have the frame so pressed at the bottom of them, that I think that, and give us, step back a little bit and just give us a little more, just a tad bit more depth. I think it'd be really good. But I do enjoy this moment. Of the girl in her half face, and she seems like she's having a lot of fun, maybe playing a game or something on the phone, and maybe these are the parents, off to the left and right, and they're they seem very happy. It seems like a very happy family. This woman's clearly, doing work. Did you have something? I know someone's mic chimed in.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, I think you're right that it is just that I feel like number 4 maybe doesn't fit as well because I do like the way it's framed, and I do like the photo. I just think maybe it stood out to me a little bit, like you said, as being a different sort of photo. And I really like number 6. It's a little different from the others,
Hmm.
but I think it's shot really well with the narrow depth of field really accentuating the woman.
It's interesting that we have, a different take on, some of the different shots, and I think it's great. I mean, it's because it means that there's someone that, there's someone out there that wants this piece, and there's someone out there that, wants this, I'm sure, and everyone's, and I do think that I love the description of this collection and what it's about, and I agree with you that if you just go and look at the photos on their own, they're really beautiful photographs, but, the description about what the collection is about really brings it, to another level. And that's when I talk to people about how, like, writing adds just another layer, another dimension to, a body of work, especially a story or a documentary body of work. And it does really, well. This is a pretty shot here too. I do like what's happening here, although we don't really know who she's smiling to, but it is a nice candid moment. I love all the detail that you can see in her. My eyes want to just kind of keep going, to her face and then just back to her hand here. Her hands are just really beautiful in this. She's holding up this sort of steel bowl and mixing something here. So there's a story to this. We'll kind of quickly look at it. Small street covered by small houses where everyone gathered and celebrated their happiness. When some children saw me with the camera, they invited me to the streets to capture them. I captured a lot of them, in their street. This particular capture, where I felt so happy looking at this woman. As most of them asked to capture her, I kept talking, with her without capturing her. She was the most, energetic woman, making everyone smile on the street, including me. So maybe she's just making passerbys smile here. At a particular moment, while she was smiling, at her mom, I froze. I showed the photograph to her mom, and she went emotional. And she knows how beautiful her daughter was, and also, knows about her struggles too. I always, I always find that, interesting when I take a photo of someone in the street and I go and I show it to them, and, um, I think a lot of times they really really love it. They really really love to see the photo, even though I didn't ask permission. I captured it, and they always ask, "How can I get this? How can I get this?" And I love sending it to them. And it's kind of rarely that people are like, "Oh, I don't like how I look. You should have seen me when I was young," or something, or something to that nature. And even more rarely do people say, "Please delete this." Um, but I like that of showing, showing the photographs. But yeah, really, really beautiful collection. Let's talk about price because this is the highest price collection that I've seen on Sloika, and so there. I thought before that it was 0.1 ETH, and so they're 1 ETH each. And I think it's a great story. I'm not saying that your work's not worth 1 ETH, but you haven't had many sales. I'm not sure when the collection exactly came out because well, let's take a look at their Twitter. Oh, that's like if I want to share it. Oh, here. Now I know who this is, Aaron. When I see the PFPs, it's so supportive. So supportive. This guy, he's always so supportive of my work. So this is September 7th that this was posted. So this just came out. Wow. Retweet. I do love it. And really, really nice setup here that's made on this. And I enjoy some of these props too. Beautiful. I think maybe that's what you meant too about this shot, Arwen, where it's more centrally focused on actually the woman and the child here, and it feels in this little setup here, it feels a bit more cohesive than it did as in that whole. But yeah, so
I agree with you on that. In this one, it goes really well with the rest of them, cropped in like that.
right, very. Yeah, beautiful. So, yeah, I don't like to talk about price much, but it's definitely harder to move pieces at 1 ETH. That being said, it's up to you. It's your work, and it's what it's worth you letting that image go for. But I think you have to look at the history of let's look at the history of Aaron's work. And see. So they're on many platforms. Foundation, Sloika, OpenSea, Object. So let's open up OpenSea. So that's where we can usually see some created. Let's look at created collections. So a lot of work being put out by Aaron here. Okay, if you're looking for collections that have sold, let's see the Poor Traveler. It says 2 owners with 0 volume. And I'm doing this for a reason, guys. There's a method to my madness. This is why I look at this type of stuff. Because if you're not, if you haven't sold, a good amount. Well, this is collected. I'm sorry, created. If you haven't sold a good amount of work at, 0.1 or 0.2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, up until 1 ETH, which is what they're asking now. But I don't see any activity on any of these collections. And because I don't see any activity on any of these collections, I mean, I would suggest removing some of these collections as to not oversaturate your own market here. It seems like what you're doing, unless OpenSea is just broken right now and it's not displaying the correct information to me. Sales minted. These were all minted 4 months ago. There's 3 owners. So let's see who owns this. Transfers. Yeah, I can't find out exactly here, but it doesn't look like the collections are selling out on OpenSea. And so I have to look into this stuff because when you're asking for a price of 1 ETH and you haven't sold up until that point, it's tough, right? Because collectors are going to look at the history, right? So if you haven't sold in increments up to 1 ETH, you might have a very hard time selling this collection at a 1 ETH. And maybe I don't know. Maybe you don't care waiting a really, really long time. But I don't know, how do you feel about pricing, if you're comfortable about talking about that, or if you haven't led up to like your own price discovery yet?
Sure. Well, Arun did put some comments in the chat, and he said that the activity for the ones that you've been looking at are on Foundation. So I think that's why you don't see the volume and stuff. Um, I mean, I do think that the price is up to each artist, but I do think 1 ETH is very hard to move. So, I mean, it could be that, you try at that price and then, if it's not moving, maybe you would decide to lower it. Because especially a collection with all 1 ETH, I think in a collection, kind of expect the prices to be a little bit lower than in an equivalent standalone one of one. So that would be my take on it.
Yeah.
And then Arun also said that he chose numbers because he sees his mother in these photos and he wanted to portray the whole life cycle of women. And that's why he chose numbers. But I still think that maybe titles that portray the life cycle, like names, and you could even put a number and a name. I still think that would be more powerful.
Absolutely, I agree on all those points. And so since he said the volume doesn't show on OpenSea and it's on Foundation, I opened up, excuse me, I sneeze. I opened up Foundation, and so one of the other collections here, series of 10, 2 of them sold, but they sold at 0.1 ETH. So you're going with a 10x jump from your other collection that's here on Silica. Let's look at Foundation just real quick. So Foundation created. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 2 sold. So this sold for half an ETH. So that's, congratulations on that. It's a beautiful portrait. And so it seems like that's the highest sale is 0.5. But in general, when you're looking at a lot of the prices here, we're looking at 0.369 not sold, 0.25 not sold, and then the Stoic collections and such that are 0.1. So yeah, but that's enough on the price. I just wanted to bring that up. If you're having a hard time selling, understand we're in a soft market. At the same time, understand that yeah, and 1 ETH is higher within a collection. But other than that, I think the work's really beautiful. I think we could move on to the next collection if you don't have anything else.
I'm ready to move on.
Cool. So next collection is Spirit of Wilderness by Omer Gaul. And I'll read the artist statement. Wilderness is wild and free, peaceful and chaotic. The wild is expression and opportunity. It maintains balance in response to itself, no matter what extreme wilderness is responding to. Extremes and consistency reign at any time, yet it maintains identity as wilderness. Spirit of Wilderness is a collection of my select one-of-one landscape photos that I took during the course of 8 years in different locations, mostly at high altitude treks in Pakistan. Cool. So let's take a look here. Banner looks pretty good. I love how on OpenSea you could look at these without the prices and stuff. Now you could look at it this way, but I don't think it does the photos justice. And I definitely don't think that does the photos justice. And I think that is the best way to look. Although I don't know why they sometimes there's like gaps everywhere. I think OpenSea needs to work on that. But this has 23 owners. Okay. All right. So 23 owners, but there's only 10 items, which leads me to believe that they're additions, which I looked at before, and they are not additions. So look at activity, sales, listings, offers, collection offers, transfers. I really just want to see sales and transfers. So Mother of Mist is owned by 3 people, 4 people. Wait a second. This is confusing. This one image has been transferred to a lot of people. Then there's another image that's transferred to 2 people. Sorrow transferred to 2 people. But where is the information up here about this not being a 1 of 1? Are you? Am I making sense here at all, Arwen? Description. Let me put
Yeah,
this.
you're making sense. One of them is an addition, it looks like.
Well, then how are the other ones sent to multiple people too? Let me see something. Mother of Mist is an addition of 30. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Mother of Mist. Sorrow was sent to multiple people though too, was it not? And this doesn't show it as an addition. Hold on. There's also
No, that one's a 1 of 1, and it's just owned by Lori Ballarducci. Yuri Ballarducci.
Okay. Okay.
So I think the one that is making it have so many owners is that Mother of Mist, which is an addition.
Okay, I see. I see what happened here. I saw this as 2 transactions, but I didn't look at it correctly. That's what happened. Okay, Mother of Mist is an addition. This is something that I generally would avoid doing, is putting one addition inside of your collection of 1 of 1s. What that will do is, like, your floor price is 0.15, right? But all it takes now is one person to list this edition at 0.03, and then your floor price on your collection is going to be 0.03 because editions are worth less than 1 of 1s. So that is something that in the future I would be careful with, and I would talk to the people that you transfer this to, and have them not, obviously 9 months ago. This has been around for a long time. So, are any of these sold? Yeah, these 2 are sold on their own. Collection's been out for a long time, 9 months. I don't see many collections that have even been out. This is kind of an OG collection. Okay. Now we'll get to the actual the photos here. Maybe I'll let you open up since you're more landscape than I am. Arwen, is there one particularly that you want to open up, or just talk about these in general, or?
Okay, yeah, I'll go ahead. First, I'll just talk about the collection in general. So I really like the colors, and the photos are captivating. I do feel like a couple of them don't go as well in the collection. Specifically, the edition not only is an edition, but it's kind of a different feel from the other photos, and it's totally a different color scheme. Sorrow goes well with Mother of Mist, and I kind of feel like they are kind of different from the rest of the collection. And then the other thing I think about the collection is that it doesn't really have a strong theme. So like I said, each of the photos are very stunning landscape photos on their own, but as a collection, I usually like to see a little bit stronger of a theme or more cohesiveness between the photos rather than just, these are landscape photos that I took. It usually makes them sell a little better and go a little better together. So that's one recommendation I would give. And I also think Another Day Ends is very different from the rest of the photos in color and also just in composition. Like the first six, well, I don't know if they're the first six on yours, but Rejoice, Perfect Reflection, Survivors, Untouched, Bliss, and Mesmerizing all have the green, and they kind of have the near-far composition, except Perfect Reflection, but a lot of them do. So to me, like, my eye moves through them very nicely, but then it kind of stops when it gets to Another Day Ends and Sorrow. They just kind of stick out to me.
Yeah, well, when you were saying when you were about to say the ones that didn't fit for you, I was actually hovering with my mouse over the ones that I thought you would say, because I felt the same way, and it's that the one that doesn't fit the most is the Edition, because this blue color temperature is just so different from the rest, right? And the other one is Sorrow is just it has a different feel from the rest too. It doesn't have that foreground, middle ground, background, layered sort of feel that the others have, where this has more of a specific, like, and I've done this with landscape too, like where you like move in and you capture more of a portrait type moment of the landscape rather than a full on, scene with multiple layers and dimension. Do does some of the I don't know, I don't edit landscape much, but does some parts of this feel very soft to you? And is that something that people do in landscape a lot? Like, looking at this image, to me, it feels like very blurry-ish. I don't know, soft blurry-ish here and here, and in a lot of the part. Like, look at the edges of the frame, have no detail. And is that, I don't know if that's a way to draw you into the flower and out, but maybe you know better than I do, shooting landscape and editing it. I don't know if we lost you there, Arlen, or maybe can you hear me, Goon, or anybody? Did I rug out?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. So maybe Arlen just can't hear me on that one.
Okay, no, I can hear you. Something happened to my Discord and I couldn't find my unmute.
Oh,
But
okay.
I got it now. So yeah, it seems a little out of focus on the edges. And I think, that would happen because he's very close to this rock. And so unless he uses focus stacking, he's not going to be able to get everything out in focus in the front. And I think that's probably what happened here. I mean, some people like that style. So, it's really, I think, up to the artist as to what style they like. I mean, I definitely prefer, especially the foreground in my photo, to be more crisp because that's kind of how your eyes see it. Things in the distance might be a little less crisp, but what you see up close, you usually see very clearly. So to go back to the photos, I think, I mean, my favorite one is probably the one with the pink flowers in the front. I don't know if you can open that.
Bliss. It's Bliss.
To me, this one has, the flowers are leading to the hills, which is kind of a more clear subject. But I am kind of having a little bit of trouble with a lot of these photos figuring out what is the focal point, like what is the part of the photo that, is the main subject or the focus point of it. And I think if that was a little more clear, they would be even stronger.
Yeah, like looking at this one, Survivor, for instance. It's a beautiful shot, and so my eyes go throughout the frame looking at things, but I don't know like what the central subject is. Like, there's a part of me that really loves this little part of the stream right here. Like, there's a lot of beautiful light and stuff going on there. But I don't know. Maybe I been a little closer to this that to even see that more. But yeah, it's hard to find what the actual subject is in a lot of these. But I do find some of them really beautiful. Like, even though this doesn't have a subject, I guess there's something about this shot that just feels really like, I don't know, peaceful and surreal and otherworldly to me, as like the everything's going in this like circular, curvature, way about it, and there is detail throughout this, and the lighting is beautiful too.
Right.
So
For me, actually, this one I think has a more clear subject than some of the others. For me, my eye is immediately drawn to the hills. And I feel like that's what he's trying to emphasize is the hills, because the light is on the hills and everything is encircling the hills. So I feel like in this one there is more of a strong point that my eye is being drawn to and that everything is emphasizing.
hmm absolutely. And so let's talk about descriptions here. I mean, so let's open one up. So um, so 10 months ago on these minted, so probably one of the older collections I've seen. And so I click description here. Maybe some things on OpenSea have changed, but if I click about, I get information within the about section, uh, and I get that. So there's an about to the photo, but there's really no, that about section. I think is just the original artist statement from here, right? And so there's no descriptions on these images. I guess this is a description. Survivors. This is kind of just a title. So we're lacking descriptions here. At the very least, artist name, the edition. That's another thing. Like, I don't. How do I know how many editions this? I don't actually know. I really don't. I wouldn't know. Like, I could assume that they're editions of one of one, and I believe they are editions of one of one. And the price makes it seem that they're one of one. But we have properties now, right? We have properties tabs where you could add that information, the artist name, the edition size, etc. And so I'd love to see properties. I'd love to see a more compelling description, and the information that's needed in some of these, and yeah, possibly well, it can't be called down at this point because of Mother of Mist and Sorrow. These are sold. Another Day Ends, uh, but the rest of them are still available. I don't know how would you go about this? I mean, outside of, like, I guess, bringing this collection to light and in the eyes of others again through like Twitter and storytelling and stuff about it. Like, the thing about OpenSea is that, like, we could rehaul things if we wanted to, right? And so, um, would you go like about how would you go about like maybe rehauling this, or possibly making it more cohesive in a sense, looking at what has sold and what hasn't, which makes it kind of difficult because had it been just Mother of Mist and Sorrow sold, then you can kind of go down that route of these types of landscapes. But because Another Day Ends is sold as well, it makes it kind of difficult. So I don't
I
know.
wonder
Or,
if you could just put the ones that haven't sold in a different collection. I mean, I don't know very much about reworking these, but the ones that haven't sold are the ones that I feel go really well together. But as
exactly.
far as but as far as selling them, I think if he adds descriptions and then really he or she, sorry, I can't remember the name, and then really you know, plays up those descriptions in tweets and in advertisements and in talking about it and tells the story behind each of these, like maybe focus on one at a time. I think, you know, that would be a really good selling point, because I do find that people really want to know more about the photos. And so by not having a description for each one, you're really losing that selling point.
Hmm. I agree. I think that could be worked on. So yeah, so I think the artist has a lot to think about. I think they make some great landscapes. I think focusing a bit more on some of the landscapes kind of where you can feel the subject, like, like bliss. Um, I think even, mesmerizing. Um, the shot we talked about before, where we feel like there's a central subject, and I don't get kind of lost like I do in Survivors, where I don't really know what the subject is. Um, yeah,
Yeah, I love the
it's-
moss in that one.
me too.
Um,
Yeah.
it's so cool. Uh, yeah, I mean, they are definitely very beautiful. You And you know, it's very hard to curate a collection. So, but I feel like if you really focus on something that, you know, draws them all together more than just being, you know, landscape scenes from Pakistan, then the photos can be much more, the collection can be much more impactful.
Hmm. It looks like the artist has gone and well, has a lot of work minted and has gone in a route of some art that's digital or AI as well in here, which could kind of be confusing to collectors. Let's see. This is photography though. Another night, another view. So in this you can clearly feel a subject here, right? Like this one, and maybe this is focus stacking, or I don't know what's done here actually. Maybe you have a better idea than me.
No, I don't know. It's hard to tell, but it is a very nice
Yeah,
photo.
yeah, it's an addition.
I mean, I don't know if it's a composite or, you know, how exactly,
Exactly,
but
exactly. Um, so random piece here has not sold. Let's see. It looks like the artist is definitely playing a lot of different like genres and stuff. And the thing for me with this is that it could sort of confuse your identity as an artist for collectors, like not knowing and I don't think we shouldn't be allowed to have different collections and genres and stuff like that. But 23 owners here, 1.4 volume traded. These ones feel like more. Um, I don't want to call them anything. I don't because I don't actually know. Let's see. Just want to see the description real quick. I know we're spending some time on this, but I like to kind of dig into what artists are doing. And these are hand drawn digital paintings. Okay, wow. These are really cool. Yeah, beautiful. Cool. Yeah, I think we gave a good amount of feedback on that collection. I think we can move on to the next collection if you're cool with that. And the next collection is uh, Ashura a Morning, and this is by Alfan uh, Yilmaz Megan. And this is the first collection in an AMA that's from Tezos. So I'm gonna zoom in a little bit here because it seems a bit far away. And so this is Tezos. This is object.com. And Tezos is a blockchain. Um, and Tezos is the currency used to purchase art on object.com. And so I've been a bit more familiar with it lately. I haven't been listing anything on Tezos, but I have purchased quite a number of pieces of art. So I've gotten a bit more familiar with the layout of it. So see, I mean, I'm actually collecting a lot of digital art on here, some photography, but a lot of like digital art and stuff. And just to show you guys like what I'm collecting and like what the interface on here sort of looks like. Quite different, but it's an interesting place. With that, let's go back and let's check out this collection. So Ashura Morning by Alfan. This collection is from the Morning Rituals from Istanbul, year 2012. So we're looking at 10 or 11 years ago. So for the Shia or Shia, the major dom of Imam el-Hussein, who died at the Battle of Karbala, is considered to be a symbol of humanity's struggle. And so looking at object, there's 6 items. Okay. Total volume has been 150 tezos. 2 owners usually just means 1 owner outside of the creator, the artist. And it looks like they sold one for 150 tezos for an addition of 1. I don't know what the price of tezos is right now. I know it's between $1.50 and probably $1.75 or so. So that's not a bad it's not a bad price from what I've seen some other people selling their stuff. So congratulations on the sale here. So let's take a look at how the how the interface and stuff works here on object. And is it easy to look at photos and what type of information do we get? And so we have this photograph here. We have a button down here where we can expand that photograph and make it bigger. That's nice. And this is a beautiful beautiful shot, and also juxtaposition between the painting of this man and his eyes, and then the eyes of the girl. And I love how this little girl is looking off, and how this girl is looking right at the camera. For both powerful gazes, and a pretty good image. And so looking around on object, there's some other things we could take a look at here, right? There's details. So Ashura, this says Ashura 006. I'm guessing that that's the title. I'll be honest with you guys. I have not minted on object. I've only collected, and so I think I don't know all the information. So we're learning together. I think this is the title, 006. It says N 1350 years morning, AN 1350 years morning. I'm not sure if that's a time period or if that's just a typo. Still fresh, still young. Locations Istanbul, Turkey, and 2012, and the dimensions, and they have a license and stuff on here. And it looks like you can add hashtags to Tezos. I'm sorry, I keep saying Tezos. That's the currency to object. They have photography. They have 1 of 1 black and white. So I probably would have added more hashtags than just this, like portraiture, documentary, environmental portraiture, monochrome, etc. The more hashtags, the better in most cases. If we scroll down here, we can see you could buy this for 150 tez. On object, you can look up here. I only have 11 tez because I went on a shopping spree, so I can't buy this. But addition is 1. Think about object is you see a lot of high editions and a lot of editions in general, and there are not that many 1 of 1s. But when it's additional 1 of, I think it's blue. I think it's when it's like an edition under 10, it's like yellow. I'm learning these things. So the royalties, they're asking for a 15% on here. On object, you could go as far as 10% royalties all the way to 25% royalties. And there is positives and negatives to doing that. Obviously, a positive to having 25% royalties is that every time your image sells, you get 25% back. The negative to having 25% royalties is you could look kind of greedy. And also, these people that trade back and forth have to pay these fees to collect. So you may get less people collecting from you because of that. And so I would stay within a range. Me personally, I would stay within a range of the lowest end being 10%, and I would probably have royalties up to at the highest 15%. I was thinking if I was to list on here, I'd probably have my royalties somewhere around 12% or so, but that's just me. So you have a property section, and let's see, listings. So it was listed by Alpha. That's a 1 for 150 TES, a history, and you can see history on here. It was minted on this date and it was listed on this date. And so, I know I'm giving a little rundown of of objects, but I think some people probably viewing this need it. So owners would be here. It's just Alpha owns one. Otherwise, you'll see a bunch of people that would own 1 or 10 or 20 based on how many editions they have. So let's talk about the collection now. So this is I've seen collections like this before where there's people mourning, and so let's look through it. So, same description here. And 1350 years, morning still fresh, still young. And then Ashura 005. I think you should spend a little more time with the title, just 005. The copy and paste seems a bit like you're just trying to get the images out. It could feel for some of the collectors disconnect because of things like that. These little small things can mean a lot. They mean a lot to me. And looking at the photo, really interesting shot once again. We're one thing I noticed so far is you haven't really moved very much well, maybe not moved very much, but so this is like the boys now, I guess. The boys, and they're holding the same poster here. It kind of has the same head-on perspective. Interesting shot. Let's go on. This is where I think we're getting a little creative here. I think this composition I think is really well done. I think it's really hard to get this many people in the frame and the face of the person being mourned. Yeah, in here from the painting, the man with the nose and lips up here, this head turning back, this guy's hand on his face. There's a lot of interesting sort of little stories going on here, and then just this sword and this child's expression is just wonderful. I love it, and the other kid holding the sword there. This is the most powerful shot of the 3 for me so far. The first one, the second one being the weaker of the 3. So I do like the one with the girls. This one here. Going on to the next shot. This one was collected. This one was collected for 150 TES. There was a sale to, TZ1XT, This is kind of an annoying thing about Object to me, is that like I've been on here for a bit and my profile still says like, TZ1XT, and I changed my profile picture like a week ago and it still has this cat. So anyway, this one sold. And this is a really interesting shot there. I like the I like the picture being held here with the imprisoned hand, the chains, kids looking up. One thing I'm noticing about the collection is there's not much mourning though. So it's a collection about mourning, and I've looked at collections about mourning, and I've seen people on the ground and crying. And a lot of these shots, if I have to be constructive, are just taken head on. Um, you know, just about every shot so far is this head on sort of composition. Here's the last shot here. This one's unsold. Same thing. This is sure as 002. I wonder why 002 comes closer to the end. And did we see 001? Where is 001? 03, 04, 05, 06. So where is the first one? It's not that one. No, this. Oh, this must be it down here. Latest mids. This must be number 1. Oh wow, interesting. I love the this one in the front with the face just looking off to the side, and then the layers and layers and layers of people, and then layers of umbrellas in the background. Interesting. Um, what Arwen, based off of like what you've seen here, and I guess like my little breakdown of Tezos plus talking about the collection, etc. Do you have anything to add, or would like to talk about this collection in some way, or did anything I say resonate, or maybe you have a different opinion on some of these?
I actually don't have a lot to add. I do think maybe if they explain the ritual a little more in the description, that we'd have a better idea of what's going on, because I think they call it mourning because that's the name of the ritual, but maybe these people, aren't really, mourning that, sadly, because it was a long time ago. But that didn't make sense. But what I'm trying to say is if they explained more about the ritual, we might identify with the pieces a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And then I agree with you. Number 1 is amazing. I really like it.
Mm-hmm.
The composition and the repetition, and going from large in the front to small in the back, it's really well done. And I also really like number 3. But I do think maybe, I don't know, it's hard with this kind of photography, but I don't know if in number 3, if maybe they could have turned the camera a little to the right so that they didn't have this thing on the left.
Yeah, this
and
part.
maybe got more of the umbrella that kid is holding. But of course, I don't know what's over there on the right. But I love these 3 boys holding this photo. Maybe even just cropping it would, emphasize them. I mean, the way they're looking and wonderment, and the one on the left has this kind of like a little bit disgusted, I don't know, look on his face.
Right.
I really like this one a lot.
I think this is a crop that like you're talking about. I think this is where, like, is that what kind of what you meant?
Yeah, maybe something more like that. I mean, it wouldn't go in the collection as well because the
Yeah.
collection is all the same format.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just feel like that's really what, is the heart of the photo, are those 3 boys holding that stunning photograph.
Yeah, I think for this collection to be an even more complex collection, I'd love to see the artist visit. So this was shot in 2012. So what about the morning in 2013 all the way through 2020, 3 that's coming up, right? Um, imagine revisiting every year if it's possible. I mean, I don't know how far this is from them, but imagine revisiting and having different perspectives, and not just these shots into the crowd, because every shot is sort of into this crowd. Like maybe there's more happening behind the scenes here that we don't know. Like maybe stepping into the crowd and shooting while in the crowd is different. Maybe what are they looking at? What are they all looking at? You know, why do we only get the perspective of them looking at something? And I think there's a bit of a story here that is missing to me that I want to know more. Like I want to see behind the scenes. I want to see, you know, what about like before they got dressed in this costume? What about the people who painted these pictures? There's so much documentary work that could lend to this to be to just bring it to the next level. And this shot, I really love this. It feels almost like a battle scene to me. Like I know this is an umbrella, but if you just glance at the image, it feels like it could be a sword. This is very this face in here, right? In this front image here, that's clearly the subject, and it feels very Assassin's Creed sort of. And then you have off to the right like these these patent leather gloves with the chains wrapped around, and the girl. And look at this girl right back here. Look at her expression. It's wonderful. All these expressions are so interesting. So I think there's some great work here. I just think that going 1 year for it, and that maybe it happens more often than that. That you could have a more complex and just um, you know visual perspective of what we're actually looking at here. And I'd love to see more than just the people looking out at something. So that would be my overall critique on this, if I had to be constructive.
Yeah, I think those are great. That's great advice. Since I don't do this kind of photography, I would never have thought of that, but that's great advice. And then mine is just to really, add more to the descriptions, the description of the collection and to each of the photos, because I want to know, like, why are there all these umbrellas? Like, what is the significance of the umbrellas? And
Mm-hmm.
what is the significance of these paintings or these photos or whatever it is that they're holding up? Like a little more information about all of this, whether, they add titles to it and describe it that way, or descriptions of each of them, what I think would draw me in even more to these photos.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And these were minted on like September 7th. At least this one was minted September 7th. So that's like the day before yesterday. So a lot of this stuff could still be added. And I'll go to say the same with the titles. I would definitely title these in a way that is more compelling and imaginative. With that, I think we can move on to the next collection. I think that was a really good breakdown of that, kind of like what it looks like to see things on object as well. So thanks for sharing, Alvin. The next collection is called Magnificence of Desert, and this is by Eshan Nick Farjan, and these are on Foundation. Interesting. Floor price is 0.06, and these are sold. There's some gorgeous ones that are sold for 0.15, but I really like this piece, and it's only 0.06. Interesting why that's 0.06, but they lowered their price, and they already have 3 sales. I mean, these are, some of these ones that are sold are absolutely stunning too. They almost look like digital renders. They're so beautiful, like absolutely gorgeous. But you could see the pixels and the grain in the sky. These are just, I don't know. I love minimalism, and I love when this type of then look at all the detail. I mean, what do you think of this armor?
What I like about this is how cohesive the collection is. I really think the collection is put together very well. And yeah, I love the shadows and the light and the layers. And I really like that quite a few of them have the focal point of the tree. But it's well put together, so even the ones that don't have the tree, you know, just the combination of some of them having the tree and some of them not having the tree and a couple of them having the people in it. This one is really
Wow.
cool with
Wow.
the ocean behind it.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if it's the ocean or a lake, but the
That's,
water and the dunes.
I think it's an ocean. I just love the light bluish green color and how it kind of goes into this darker ocean color and just all these shadows and details and just it's just abstract and it's so beautiful. It's really well done. And so we have a few here for 0.06. Let's take a look. Like, so we looked at this one. I really, really like this one. I think it's beautiful with the man and these footprints here. And just I love these little lines, those little lines in the shadow. I think that's the strongest one of the three that is 0.06. This one's also 0.06, but I'm having a harder time finding the subject in this shot. So this one is not as strong to me as the rest in the collection. And then um, this one, you know, while it has a subject, it just doesn't stand with this one that has a subject. What do you agree with that, Arlen? Like,
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. If you go back to the collection, I think this one goes so well because Crossing the Desert #2 goes so well because the way the shadow lines up with the line of the dune. It's the repetition in this one that really makes it stunning. And then if you go back to the collection and look at number.
Can you give me a sec? I'm gonna borrow this one. I like it. I think it's really beautiful and it's fairly priced. I have the ETH still. Let's get it. Confirm.
Woohoo!
Yeah, if I confirm it, I'm saying they want it. What's your
I think maybe your wallet's not popping up for the approval. This happens to me sometimes, and I have to disconnect it and reconnect it.
Let me try this. There we are. Gas is probably high. Jesus, gas is higher now. Fine, I'm gonna get it. That was what I wanted. All right. Once it's confirmed on the blockchain, then we'll go look at the other ones. I would probably call down the next two that are next to this one, though. I feel like the two that we looked at before this one, they hurt the collection. They hurt the collection, I think.
Maybe in a different tab you could go back to the whole.
Yeah. Let's do that. I could go back to MetaJungle.
Because who knows how long that's going to take.
Yeah, that's true.
It's the Eshen, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right here. Okay, perfect. Oh, look, it's actual banner too.
Yeah, that one's really nice.
Yeah.
So I agree with you about that one. What is the number of this one?
It just says Ring Yalan.
Desert. Okay,
Ring
so it
Yalan.
has a title.
Yeah,
I agree with you about this one. I love the texture in the front dune and the line leading into the distance, but then it kind of loses me a little bit at that point. So
like it would need a subject, like maybe like if there was like a camel or something being pulled like in this area out into that distance or something, but without that it just falls short from the other images and it doesn't have that abstract layering that the other ones have. That it's just you know, especially being an owner in the collection now, like I would like to see these two like removed, to be quite honest. It's not, that's not up to me, but like I think it would help your collection. I think Crossing the Desert 2 is so much stronger than Crossing the Desert 1. Um, it's
Kind of
just,
like that he has two of the Crossing the Deserts, though, because if you go back to the whole collection, I think it
yeah.
ties it together really well to have those two with the people in it. Well,
Oh,
Crossing the
there's
Desert
three.
is
There's
nice.
three also.
That's
There's Crossing
true.
this one's incredible.
And that one could go up at the, that one could tie it together. So yeah, I think it could be
Yeah,
called. This one is really,
yeah, I know. I didn't get that one. I don't. He minted it 11 hours ago, so he minted it before this. Maybe I could have made a 0.064 on it. I feel like that's lowballing, but he has them listed for that.
so I don't think that one is listed, right? Magnificence of the Desert, go down.
It's not listed yet because he
Crossing
just
the Desert.
minted it.
Okay.
Because he just minted it 11 hours ago before the AMA. And it's a great one. And I would stay with putting the top desert ones in this collection. It's a really good collection. But yeah, well, oh look, I got it! Yay! Congratulations! It says, "Congrats to me, congrats to you. This is owned by me now, so everyone else can get it." All right. Let's go back. Oops, I'm dirty. Go back.
I think if you click view, oh no, that'll bring you to
I'm
your,
just gonna click this thing and then this thing.
okay.
But yeah, oh wow, it doesn't show it at the top now. I guess because it's bought, so now it's down here somewhere.
Right.
And so,
Yeah,
interesting.
but I
This
love
is
the colors. I think they go really well together. Um, I mean, I've seen a lot of collections of dunes that are all the more close-up ones, like the Crossing the Desert ones. And so I kind of like the way this has some, different ones mixed in with the water. It kind of gives it with the trees, it kind of gives it a uniqueness to this collection.
does. I want to read the description of it. So I read it before. I really liked it. So this collection is the result of 10 years of photography of the most impassable deserts in Iran. I've been photographing in the deserts of Iran since 2012. These areas are the hottest spot on Earth, and in summer the heat in the shade reaches over 70 degrees Celsius. I've traveled to these deserts since 2013. I love form and light in the desert. The desert hills are like a poem or a piece of music to me. Beautiful. So yeah, I don't have anything else to say about this collection, outside of the fact that I would call these two images, and then I think you would have like a super ultra solid, gorgeous collection. Not that these aren't like good images, but I think that these other ones are just like superb, and so I would be more strict in I'd be more strict than that, and that's all. But you will move on to the next collection.
Yep.
We've got just 3 left here. So this next collection is called Dead Leaves, and this is by uh, El Naz Tasob. Tasob, I think that's the way you say it. And there's a beautiful description here. And so the very first idea of this project crossed my mind when I was at my mother's grave, being preoccupied with her death and feeling of missing her. There is a magnificent and stunning bitter orange tree at her grave, and I feel it leaves root in my mother's spirit. I literally have multiple feelings about this tree, such as love, fear, and ambiguity. I named this set Dead Leaves to depict beauty and death at the same time. And so, looking at it from afar, it's a very abstract looking collection. And it to me, it's clear that it's composites into this this area. And so if you look at the first one, it's called brain. These deserve to be looked at really big, and it's like so I believe what she's doing here is photographing these leaves that drop off of this orange tree, and then putting in these images of these brains and these maggots on the brain and such. And this is and this heart and stuff. And it's this is a level and skill in Photoshop, or maybe it's not Photoshop, maybe it's props. I have no idea what it is, but it's outside my realm of expertise in being able to do this type of thing and making it look real and this good. This is sort of a bit grotesque to me, this shot. There's something about it I do really love. It gives a feeling of life through like a brain, and then life ceasing to exist, and other life such as the maggots taking on that flesh of that. Yeah, it is powerful. I'd like to look through all of them.
Could you read the description of the brain one?
Yeah.
I just like to get an idea of what these descriptions say.
Yes, I totally just skipped that. Sorry. So I think this is a copy paste of this part. Oh, there's a stunning orange tree. Yeah. Beautiful. Okay. So that part there is pasted from the original description. I don't know that this needs to be posted in every description. Then this part's different. So this set includes different symbols that refer to specific subjects, human traits. Such as butterfly, sea, sky, egg, and brain. Each of these elements is a symbol of nothingness and all values important to us that vanish by death. From my point of view, a narrow-minded mentality is like people with useless lives. I had a different experience in this photo showing a narrow-minded mentality with the worms entering the brain. Furthermore, I used some stones next to the brain to show that some brains are just heavy but empty in terms of thought and mindset. Interesting. I would only have this part in here though. Like this is just, and it's just like laid on top of each other. It's hard to read because it's just yeah. I don't. How do you feel about that? Like, is it just too much in the description here? Like,
Yeah, I agree. The last part of it is really what tells me what I wanted to know, which is, why are the brains here?
exactly. So I'm glad that you brought that up. So let's go on to birth, and this one has a lot of like the broken egg yolks and such here, and different types of egg here. This looks like a little baby dinosaur egg almost. Really interesting feathers and such colors. I'm going to skip a few because I want to show one that I think works really well, and it's this one. And I think it's because we've stepped away from just all of the leaves on top of each other, and there's this little sand pit added here with the crabs and such, and there's these blue butterflies and these peacock feathers that add a color to these scenes that are very not monotone but have the same sort of rustic color quality. And I think that these blues and such, and this break in all the leaves here is just a really beautiful frame. If I was to own one of these pieces, like this would be the one that I would want. This one is minted 9 months ago, but it was listed at 0.08, and then it was unlisted on February 1st, 2022. March, April, May, June, July, August. Because 7 months ago, this was unminted. So this collection's been sitting here for a long time, and there's no buys on it, and it makes me wonder, what is the artist done to get this in the eyes of collectors and stuff? I don't see like a Twitter link or anything here. Is there? Can we go? Maybe if we go to her name, we can get that sort of the link to the Twitter. I could follow. I'll follow. I'm not gonna have to do all this silly stuff. I could buy something, but I can't just click follow. That's interesting. Okay, so here, if there's a drop-down menu, which makes it kind of, so let's look at the Twitter, because I want to see, and I want to follow this artist. I want to see like what's, okay, check out my work in these platforms, August 19th. So this is, a couple of weeks ago. Beth Leaves on Foundation, like Jack, Drowning Dream, Open Sea. Okay.
And
Yeah,
she
I
has
mean,
that one that's unlisted in the
yeah,
pin tweet, so I think maybe she doesn't know it's unlisted, so it probably needs to be listed again.
yeah, it probably does. Give them a retweet. I really do love this one. So yeah, maybe she needs to relist it again, and just get to talking more about these pieces, making tweets about one piece, talking about the death of a parent and the concept behind that specific piece and talking about that piece. I think it would be really helpful in getting eyes on your collection.
I agree. These are really unique and captivating, and like looking at them makes you want to know more about them. So I think really playing that up in selling them, telling the story of why you created it with these elements would just really, it would really draw people in and make them want to buy it. To go back to the individual ones, the one that is your favorite actually is my least favorite for the same reason. I mean, I love the colors, like you mentioned, if you go back to it, and
Yeah,
the
I like
sea
this one now
shells
that
and
I'm looking
everything.
at.
I really like this one, but I find that
Yeah.
that sand breaks it up a little too much and is a little too jarring. For me, I like the ones that are consistent throughout. I really like the way this one transitions from the yellow shells to the blue, and I
Mhm.
feel like if it were filled in where the sand was, then I would like it might even be my favorite. But
Yeah, I don't
it's
know.
interesting how
I like
different
the break.
people have
Yeah,
different.
I like the break in it. It's funny. But let's look at the one we were just looking at, right? Because there's something about this one that's like has this really organic and rustic like feel to it. I don't know what it is. Like these pieces of wood and the butterflies are even like they're not bright butterflies, and I don't know, this one's gorgeous. I think it's really beautiful. I think it's one of my favorites too.
I really like this one as well. Um,
Yeah.
just the way the colors of the parts that she added, like the butterflies, go so well with the leaves that have been photographed. It's very well done.
I agree. I agree. I really love it. This one's Lost Beauty. And so, yeah, we don't need all of this. Like, again, like I just want to know what it's about. I embedded some needles in the leaves to exemplify determinism, birth, death, that are not our choices, but rather given to us. Beautiful and colored butterflies with needles embedded in their bodies. I didn't even see the needles. I have to look at it again. And their bodies were placed alongside lifeless leaves. It may seem at first glance that they are alive, but as one looks at them more precisely, they can recognize impaired wings and butterflies collapsed on lifeless leaves. I think that's the thing that I liked about the butterflies too, is that they weren't so beautiful and vibrant and stuff, and it did have that feel of that they were dead. So this one, let's look at bone real quick. Yeah, so I think that bone is actually my least favorite, this one. While I do like what colors are going on here, this one feels the least realistic to me. This bone in particular here feels like, I guess the depth of field from this bone to the leaves doesn't feel like it's on the same plane. Like it feels composited, for me. So, in this area, it doesn't. In the top right of the corner here, I feel like we've got this going on a little better here with the darkness of it, but here it's just like the bright light hitting this. Yeah, I don't know. I think there could be some local adjustments in the editing on this to work that out a bit. I don't know. You like this one, Omer?
No, I agree with you. The one in the bottom left to me seems a little the same way, kind of, you can tell it's composited in there. And I don't know, is this one in the middle a bone? It's kind of hard to see.
This piece here,
Yeah.
or yeah, I couldn't. I think that's a folded leaf, but it could also be. Yeah, I think it's a folded leaf just because of the edges, how jagged and stuff they are. But yeah, it's mainly this bone in the middle here, how it goes from really textured here to up here. It feels like it's like the details missing, and then it just feels like the distance from the the distance from the leaves, it's like higher up. There's just something about it that feels composited to me, and I think that this could be further looked at and processed. And I don't think it's sold, so this isn't another one minted 9 months ago, but there's really nothing's been done since then. You're looking at almost a year of that. So, um, but I love the story behind this collection, and I love how she found this like cohesive way to make this sort of like abstract. Um, it's like abstract with elements that aren't abstract, and it's just, yeah, this is another beautiful one. The colors are just gorgeous here, and this doesn't feel composited to me. It just feels like a natural find. And I love how there's pieces that are wet, like this wet leaves here. It feels like maybe it rained that day. But I think it's really well done. And I really like the collection as a whole.
I like that one too. I think it's might be one of my favorites, and it also has the bare sand at the top left, but I think that's balanced by part at the bottom right that has
Yeah,
those pebbles.
exactly.
And so I really like this one.
I love this little top at top right too. This
Yeah.
little
Shells are
piece.
beautiful. I think maybe I'm just more drawn to the ones that have the beautiful things composited in than the grotesque things, but that's
Yeah.
just, my sensibility. It's nothing really
Yeah, and
photos.
someone else will lean towards the other ones. Someone
Right.
else will lean towards the other ones. But I think it's a beautiful collection, and yeah, very good job on that. So we have two collections left here. We have human in the street, um, and human in the street is by it's by Ramazan Sirikoglu. And so, first off, the banner. We talked about this last week. Last week, we had a lot of these where the resolution was really, really bad. And I think that it's just a bad first look. So, figure out what OpenSea wants for the dimensions of the banner and make the banner exactly that, or have no banner at all, I would say. Okay, so I photograph a human in crowds, how lonely he is, how he is in danger. At the same time, I would like to document that people integrate with the street and become a part of the city. Most of the time, the human body doesn't make any sense. However, the objects in the background give meaning to human behavior. And finally, the most important signature of man on the street is light. Without light, man cannot be even a shadow, or even be a shadow, it should be. So got a floor price of 0.1. Total volume is only 0.06 though, and that's because this one was human in bright was sold for 0.06. Maybe someone made an offer. And there's still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces left at 0.1, which is fair pricing on OpenSea for 101s. So let's, I'll be critical at first with the titles. Human on ground, human in target, human in bright. These are just so literal that it just, I'm just taking, like, it just takes away from it for me. Like, I think this is one of my favorite images, and I think it could just be called Death Row. I think if this was just Death Row, I would get it. It would make sense to me. It almost looks like this man's headed up to be like electric shocked or like decapitated by this piece that's happening here. I love the reflection going on in the mirror, and the light here and the white trees off to the side. We've got a lot of great information in here, all the properties that are needed, edition, artist, DPI is great to have there too, and like that very much. A couple of the ones I guess I'm really drawn to, human and target. Really interesting timing, great timing. I love the triangle that's created between the legs. Triangles, triangles, triangles everywhere. I love all the shapes. And I love the weather, the inclement weather. He's coming through with the COVID mask, shows times that's shows a sign of the times. Yeah, I think when there is a human with like a real element in the background, like this one too, this architectural one, are the ones that like stand out the most to me, and especially in your artist description about how the elements of nature itself, or man-made elements combined with the human figures, has this interaction. Makes sense to me here. I think the ones that are like that I'm less drawn to have I guess less elements. While this is like a nice, this is a very clean shot. There's elements to this that I wish weren't missing. I love this part. I do. I definitely do. The reflection's beautiful, but maybe it's the angle in which it was shot, or it's just missing environment that the others have. This environment that actually becomes one with, and maybe the environment that comes one with this is the puddle. Human and Bright is the one that was sold to. Yeah, it doesn't stand out to me as much. I think that your your visual literacy is just like more intelligent than what you've created here, based on what we've seen, and your timing. This doesn't really require as much timing as some of the other shots you've taken. Like, yeah, to get like a decent stride, and his hand here and the foot here, like, it takes some good timing, but something like Human on Death Row, or like Human in Target, I think is something that's like just more impressive to me. And then another shot that's does have an environment but isn't quite hitting the mark on minimalism like the others are, would be this one here. It says human in front of machine. And I think maybe if the title was just machines, or something to that regard, that it's sometimes less is more of the titles too, and leaving things up to the imagination instead of being so literal. With that, I mean, I'll pass to Armin on the collection, how she feels about this collection.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to add. I really like it. I think it's a strong collection. I love the ones with the geometric shapes, and the human. I agree that the machine, it probably doesn't go as well as the rest of them. So I actually don't have much to add on it at all. I think it's really nice, and I really love the concept of it. I agree that the titles could be more catchy. And maybe if he just took out the human on or human in, like you said, that would do it.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's one sold. there's one sold, so you won't be able to do it on that one, but that's fine, right? Maybe that one you can just say is Human and Bright, but yeah, I think in more compelling titles would be nice. I do definitely like your descriptions and licensing and all this information. That's really good to see. This whole was minted three months ago. And we actually listed it for 0.06 and then went back to 0.1. I'd stick around 0.1. I think you're skilled enough to sell these for 0.1 for sure. But yeah, really beautiful collection. Love to see it. So we can move on to actually the last one. And last collection is Chasing My Passion. And this collection is by Tim Baca. And so I have these sorted by oldest. So there's one owner. That owner is of Lao Transcendent. I mean, these are wild. I'll read the description on the collection. It's like a storm chaser. Oh, so cool. Let's read the description. This collection spans the 2021 chase season, so it's very recent, 1 year ago. It's the first of a multi-year body of work that I will be showcasing after each chase season. At a young age, I fell in love with severe weather. Up until 2017, the world of storm chasing didn't seem like something I could do. After one major supercell close to home became a reality. From then on, it was all I could think about. Countless days and nights were spent learning everything I could about it. Each year, a large block of my time is dedicated to going out in search of these beastly cells. It's not just what I do, it's who I am. I chase my passion. What about you? I mean, I probably would have just ended it on I chase my passion. I don't know about the what about you part. The rest of it's really interesting how you kind of had this fear of doing it, and then when it was close to home and you captured one, it inspired you to kind of go out and face your fear and chase your passion. Be interesting if your original border here had the full like chasing my passion piece here, and I know it's annoying on OpenSea to get this right, but I think getting it right is important. It shows that you care about getting it right and taking the time to get it right. Like look at this, like this is really good what you did there. And so to figure out a way, OpenSea tells you the dimensions for that. And so with that, looking at these, we have one sold. Price is 0.2. I think it's really fair on these. Before I jump into these, which I think are really awesome, these two seem like really similar. I mean, this one has, this has like a green foreground, and this has like a more of a like a dead grass foreground, but they seem very similar next to each other. Whereas then you have some that have like a field of like flowers and stuff here, and a different type of storm emanating here, and this one has the lightning, transcendent, just like really, really powerful. Passage, and we'll open these up too. Passage has, look at this bright green grass and this leading lines into like a storm that is happening during a sunset. It's like it almost feels like a slice in half between daytime and nighttime. Really cool. They got all the properties you need and even more. So really good job on that, Tim. Audacity. Look at that. I'm surprised that one's not sold. That's really incredible capture of lightning. And not only that, look at these clouds here, and then look at these bubbly clouds up here. Arwen, I know you probably have some stuff to say about this one because you really like landscape, and this is like a different kind of landscape, right?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you've said. Those two that you pointed out are similar, and maybe even, the
This one.
least less strong than the other ones. But, you really have to look at them and like big and look at the detail to
Yeah, because
see
there's a house.
like everything going on in them. When they're just small, it's so hard to see. But yeah, well, Tim knows I love his work. And just they're so dramatic. Like the way he's able to portray the fury of these storms through the light and the dark is just amazing. And I think the collection's really well done. Actually, I think if any of them doesn't go as well in the collection, it's the pink one. I can't remember the name of it that's already sold, just because the color scheme doesn't go quite as well with the rest of them, although it's an amazing piece, um, with the tornado and everything.
Jesus, yeah.
Or it's not a tornado, it's a shelf cloud, I think they're called. I don't know, I'm learning these words from the storm chasers.
Yeah,
I'm probably wrong, but whatever it is, it's really cool looking.
yeah, it's crazy how this funnel of pink then goes into like this darker and then this super bright. Like it seems like these storms happen around sunset or sunrise. I mean, in a lot of these shots, right? Like,
But I feel like you really need to, look at them big. Like I love that one with the flowers or the cotton or whatever it is in the foreground in the
yeah,
landscape. The one next to this, I think. You really
yeah,
need to go in and look at them, and I think that's part of this one, and I think
yeah.
that's part of the reason, like, these are sometimes a little harder to sell, and also, intricate landscapes, because they don't display as well in these small thumbnails.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for these kind of photos, it's really important to, talk about each one and to really advertise each one, because when you see it alone and big, you really can see all that dramatic detail in the sky and what makes it so impressive.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Some work just needs to be seen large, and this is that type of work that just you need to do it larger on a larger screen to even sometimes find like a subject that's way out there that you didn't see. Like, this is pretty beautiful too. It's definitely like you could see the weeds just like flying in with the wind, and I love these moments in life. It's like you can almost smell the storm coming in, like and you can feel the wind and the change and just the vibration like of the earth when this stuff's happening. It's wild. I love how there's the sunset going on here or sunrise, whatever it is. Probably sunset, I don't know. But how these storms tend to really just happen during these sunsets. It's interesting that the timing um, is here's another lightning one. It's like, yeah, I didn't even see lightning in this one from further away from looking at like this just like looking at it like a film strip. But yeah, these are really stunning. How long ago were these minted?
And the
If you
way
look at
they're composed as well, like, with the lightning on the right, and then you can see the full cloud on the left, and the one we were just looking at. And this one, those mammatus clouds, wow.
yeah, these are crazy.
You really need to look at them, in detail, like big, so that you really see everything.
Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah, they're really amazing. So, man, I don't have
A lot of feedback for it, except that maybe those two that are similar, like you said, could be culled down. But I think it's really beautiful and well done.
Yeah, absolutely, I do too. Just wonder what their Twitter looks like, and I'm following Tim. He's following back. Oh, he's got a lot up here. Look at these. Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay. Those are probably minted somewhere else, but if they're not, you could replace some of those ones that were similar with like something like this, or some of these. Wow, some there's really incredible. I'm gonna retweet his work here. Officially sold out on Foundation. Wow, that's awesome. Congratulations. Do have some pieces available on OpenSea. Wow. Cool. Well, yeah, that's the last. That was the last collection we ended on. So yeah, the collections you guys like, guys, please share the artists and yeah, it's been a really great session. I feel like we just kept getting to look at like amazing work after amazing work after amazing work, and had a lot of fun talking about his artwork today. Thanks, Arwen. You have a lot of like really great things to add, and some things that I don't think about that we could then discuss, which is really great. And we don't always agree on the ones that I dislike or I like, and I think that's a good thing for people to hear. Is that like, you know, one person's opinion is their opinion, and I always try to tell people that like, hey, this is my perspective, and try to get more eyes. I always try to get more eyes on my own stuff, my own work, because I don't always know what's the most compelling. Sometimes we get wrapped in our own work and have sentimental attachment to it. But yeah, really cool, really great session.
Yeah, I wanted to add that this was probably the hardest one I've done because all the work that was submitted was such high quality. It was, hard to think of things to give constructive feedback about. So, I'm really happy that there's so much good artwork out there. And also thanks to everyone for submitting such great stuff.
Exactly. I mean, it takes courage to put your work out in front of a bunch of people and then have people talk about it and be constructive about it. And that's a big part of, the people that I choose to co-host based on people that know how to talk about things in a constructive way. But not only know how to talk about things in a constructive way, but just know how to talk about how art makes them feel in general. Um, you know, I don't have a list of 100 people on my co-host list. I have a couple of handful, maybe. I don't even think I have a couple of handful of people that I trust to be able to give that constructive feedback and to talk about artwork, and that are generally um, really want to help other people in their collections. And so, thanks again. I don't know if there's a collab today, Goon, or not.
Yeah, I just put it in the chat.
Awesome. I forgot to get my last week's collab, so I'm gonna go and get my collab this week. And yeah, so we'll be doing another AMA next week, as we always do. We'll be shooting for, I'm sure, Thursday or Friday. I think as of now, we should stay with, people being able to submit all genres, just because the market is a bit slow. And so we got really blessed this week with some really fantastic submissions that were very easy to pick and were very much eye candy for a lot of the viewers. So looking forward to next week, and thank you guys. And I guess on that, if no one has anything else, collect your POAP. And thanks again, Arwen. Appreciate you, and thanks to MetaJungle for having us have the ability to educate and host here.
Of course. Thanks again, Mike and Arwen. Great job today.
All right. Thank you so much. Bye bye now.